Good morning, Wabash. Speaking today at Pioneer Chapel is alumnus from the class of 1993, Mike Warner, with his talk titled Family Union. Mike Warren is a proud Montgomery County native and 1993 graduate of Wabash, where he earned 7 varsity letters as a member of the football and baseball teams, was a brother of Beta Theta Pi, and a member of the Sphinx Club. Mike is the second oldest of 4 brothers, a father to 2 boys, Caleb and Kai, and a proud husband to his wife, Kim. From 2008 to 2015, he served as an assistant football coach for the Little Giants, helping them capture multiple NCAC championships and NCAA playoff appearances, as well as 7 consecutive wins against the school to the south. Mike is in his 21st year on staff at Wabash and currently serves as the Senior Associate Director of Alumni and Parent Relations. He enjoys coaching football, golfing, cheering for his beloved Bears and Cubs, and spending time with his family and friends. Please give a warm welcome to Mike Warren.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you, the Sphinx Club, for affording me the opportunity to give today's chapel talk. It's an honor to be here, and I hope to impart some words of wisdom for you to ponder as the semester draws to a close and you head out for winter break. I should inform you that one of the biggest regrets of my Wabash student days was not taking a rhetoric course, or speech as it was back then. Hopefully, the experience gained through uncomfortable situations I found myself in over the years will benefit me and allow me to get through this cleanly. I've listened to chapel talks given by legendary faculty, staff, alumni, and students over the years, each time wondering what I would say if given the opportunity. What experiences could I draw from to provide some lasting advice to the Wabash community? The likes of Bill Plaker, Melissa Butler, David Blix, Rick Warner, Mac Petty, and countless others have addressed the community many times, offering profound messages I could only hope to match. Well, here we are, officially my turn. What do I have to share? The topic had to be something important to me, and one that I hope would resonate with each of you as well. So, let's talk about family. It always topped my list when considering the potential topics. Plus, events from this past Thanksgiving week only reinforced my desire to address it today. Thanksgiving traditions in the Warren house always includes football. And while waiting for the games to begin, the Macy's parade was typically on TV as well. If you tuned into the parade or any of the football games this past Thursday, you likely saw several clips of people talking about the things for which they are thankful. Without fail, clip after clip, the number one thing mentioned was family. An NFL matchup often featured on Thanksgiving is the Bears and Lions. And while watching this game, I'm always reminded of family. It's not a game that most are clamoring to watch, since neither team is normally any good. But it takes me back to the years of watching it with my dad, brothers, and other family. You know I always want my team to win, as most of us would, but sharing the day and experience together with family was the important piece and what I now remember most from those days. It does make the weekend that much better if the Bears win, like they did this year, though. Sorry for any Lions fans that might be in here. So, what is family? If we polled each of you today, I'm certain we would get all kinds of different answers. For now, though, let's consider just a couple of definitions. An essential meaning of family, as defined by Merriam-Webster, is a group of people who are related to each other. They also propose a broader definition as a group of people united by certain convictions or common affiliation. The first is pretty simple, right? It's our relatives, parents, siblings, grandparents, aunts and uncles, in-laws, cousins. All families are different, of course. Most have their shares of trials and tribulations. My family is certainly not immune to those, yet I still consider myself lucky to have the family that I do. I am fortunate, in my opinion, to have a group of relatives who are very close Close because of the steadfast love and support we have for one another, no matter the situation. Fortunate I was indeed. For more than 30 years of my life, I had both sets of grandparents present and immersed in the lives of their children and grandchildren. They celebrated family often, and that meant lots of gatherings for just about every occasion: birthdays, holidays, reunions, etc. It seemed as though we'd be at my grandparents' homes celebrating one thing or another on a weekly basis. These continued all through my youth, into adulthood, and well after many in my generation were married with children of their own. The larger family gatherings are fewer and farther between nowadays, occurring primarily around the holidays like this past Thanksgiving weekend. Mostly those had dwindled as my grandparents aged and each family got larger, making it tougher to get the extended family together. Traditions were carried on in my immediate family, though. My parents, with 4 grown boys and 10 grandchildren of their own, began hosting the various celebrations and started what would become the Warren Sunday dinners. It wouldn't always be everyone, but whoever was able to be there would come for dinner and enjoy the end of the weekend together before moving on with their weeks. Yes, the special gatherings for holidays and eventually all the Sunday dinners were great. But being a relative, being family, is more than holidays and singing happy birthday. Without fail, the love and support from my family was always evident. My brothers and I, we competed in various sports throughout our younger years, into high school and in college. Through the years, we were involved in more athletic contests than one might care to count. Yet I cannot recall a single game when there wasn't anyone there in support of us. In fact, I would guess more times than not, we had the largest cheering section of any player. Often there would be some tough love after the games, usually from Dad, right? With reminders of what we could have or should have done better or different. Mostly, though, family was there with praise, no matter how we performed. So if it was athletics, school events, or any other kind of activity, if we were doing it, family was there. Technically, I never lived in the city of Crawfordsville growing up, so mostly I denied the moniker, but I guess you could say I was born and raised a townie. Wabash wasn't to be the college for me, though. In fact, I'm certain I once said I would never go here. It was 10 miles away from home, no female students, no thank you. Never say never, right? Being nearby was certainly a plus when it came to support from family. I always had a quiet place across town at my grandparents' house when needed, and you could never leave there without eating. Of course, getting some extra snacks or cash from my parents was much easier, and the laundry service was always nice. Family support continued through my athletic endeavors here at Wabash. No doubt being so close made that much less difficult, but I'm certain they would have found a way to be there no matter where I went. From game 1 at Albion College as a freshman, when I had little to no chance of seeing the field, to the bell game my senior season, my family was there with my parents and brothers, hardly ever missing a snap. I recall my youngest brother Corey running around the stadium, little Giants jersey, week after week, and my older brother John walking in at game time straight out of his deer stand. I'm reminded now of a couple stories linking my dad to a couple of Wabash traditions: tailgating and mowing on bell. Obviously, tailgating is a huge part of the game day experience these days, and while I have no proof, my dad may have had a hand in establishing the tailgating scene here at Wabash. It's nothing like today with the RVs and elaborate planning for food, drinks, and games, but tailgating nonetheless. Always the first to arrive, he'd position his Toyota pickup into the same spot every week, just east of the drive leading over the railroad tracks to the old Little Giant Stadium, sharing items from his grill and red Solo Cup drinks with any other willing Wabash fan. Second, second connection, Monon Bell. My dad's birthday was in November and happened to fall on or around the Bell game each year. My first game as a player was November 11th, 1989, just days shy of his 40th birthday. Unfortunately, we weren't able to celebrate both a birthday and a Monon Bell victory that year. Enter 2021 and November 13th, the 127th Bell game, and what would have been my dad's 72nd birthday. What a day. Congratulations once again, Coach Morrell, his staff, and all the players on a great victory. I'm certain my dad enjoyed a few cold Budweisers celebrating the win with us. Here's a fun fact. The last time the Bell game and my dad's birthday fell on the same day was in 2010. The Dannies entered that game with its supposed best team ever as well. 47-0. Four seasons of Wabash football games, and the family was consistently there. Now add in the baseball season each year, and the support never wavered. They were there from spring break trip to Florida in 1990 to the conference championship game at Anderson University in 1993, and everything in between. They weren't done yet, though. Brother Bill had entered Wabash with the class of 1996, tacking on an additional 3 years of football and baseball seasons. I feel like my mom and dad may have held a record at some point for parents attending, for the number of games attended before we graduated. As a teenager, I probably made some pretty poor decisions. My brothers usually helped me out with those. I also believe there were at least a couple of good ones. I would say one of the best was made in February of 1988 when I was 16. It was then I started dating the girl that has been by my side ever since. Kim and her family were as supportive of me as anyone. They considered me family as mine did her, long before we ever made it official. While in school herself, Kim would make the 2-hour trip home every week to be at Wabash for game days, or on road trips with my family for away contests. She spent so much time on campus, some in my fraternity joked that she should have a house bill of her own. We'd get married right here in the chapel in 1995 and complete our tribe in the handful of years that followed with the birth of our 2 boys, Caleb, a 2020 Hope College graduate, and Kai, a current sophomore here at Wabash. Now, in no way do I claim to believe that my family is the only one to exhibit this level of love and support. You've heard of the Burrish family, right? I mean, they've had that. But the family always being there for me is something I will never forget and is a model that I will always try to emulate. Now, up to this point, I've spoken about family in the terms of that essential definition, using examples from my own related family. But you, the Wabash community, may more closely identify with family through this broader definition, a group of people united by certain convictions or a common affiliation. Now, I mentioned earlier that Wabash was not going to be the school for me. Obviously, I knew about the school from an early age and had Wabash connections through several people in my life. My first real introduction to Wabash was from my 8th grade English teacher. She happened to be the sister of the Wabash baseball coach who eventually recruited me. But all of this was long before the college ever drew my attention. Eventually, the college search brought me to 2 options. But even with multiple connections urging me to choose Wabash, I was still struggling with the decision late into my senior year of high school. Being first gen, there was no previous experience to draw from in this situation. So I turned to my grandfather, a retired major general in the Army National Guard. He would know what to do. He dropped me off at a downtown office building here in Crawfordsville, where a gentleman by the name of Ned Rickett was waiting inside to speak with me. I honestly don't know how long I was in there or exactly what was said in the conversation, but I do know he talked about the Wabash experience and what it meant to him. That was all I needed. Wabash was the answer. And at that point, I joined him in being a part of the larger Little Giant family. So now I'm set, part of the family, and ready to move on to campus to begin the experience. I had already committed to playing baseball for the Little Giants, but was convinced that summer that I should join the Wabash football team as well. So I reported to preseason camp that fall and became part of the Wabash football family also. You guys out there that are involved in one or more of our athletics programs or any other club or organization know the feeling, right? You're brought together through a common affiliation and then forever share a special bond. I had not been recruited for football and really had no idea what I was getting into. After being introduced to a couple offensive line starters, I knew I'd lost my mind. Though not large by today's standards, these men were pretty big themselves, 6'3", 250 pounds, full goatees, and a couple of the best mullets of the time. I, on the other hand, was all of about 5'7", 135 pounds. You could see I might be a bit intimidated. I hadn't even started shaving, so the only thing that may have put me in the same league was my mullet. It turns out big guys prefer to share space on the bus with much smaller players. I became seat buddies for the next 2 years with one of these guys, forming what might be considered an unlikely bond. Joining the football team actually introduced me to 2 more families at Wabash. I hadn't really participated in fraternity rush, so I was planning to remain in the dorm for at least the first semester. That changed rather quickly when a teammate convinced me to go visit some other players at a fraternity one night. Within 24 hours, I'd accepted a bid to pledge and join the Brotherhood of Beta Theta Pi. Another family it was. Beta was home to several football players, and I became close to them all, some serving as groomsmen in my wedding years later. One pledge brother, though, and best man at that wedding, is one with whom I became closest. That friendship led to our families developing a close relationship with each other over the 4 years as well. Our parents would often make plans for home and away games. I've even heard bits and pieces of a great story about them and some former drinking establishment here in town that burnt down years ago. Not sure I ever got the full details, so that story probably should remain under wraps for now. Joining the Little Giant football family can be added to the list of good decisions I made as a teenager. However, the reason I was at Wabash in the first place was to continue my baseball career and get a good education. As baseball started that year, I would learn that several men from the football team were part of the baseball family as well. Players I already knew as family would join me as we blended with the new guys to establish that baseball family. And just as it was with football, long-standing relationships were forged with these teammates throughout each season, especially during the long spring break trips to Daytona. Let me tell you, there's nothing like getting to know your new family like Daytona Beach spring break in the early 1990s. I believe that leaves one last family that I was fortunate to be a part of while a student that I've yet to mention. I just have a prop for that. Not sure I remember how to wear that. Now, each of these family examples from my student days that I've shared provided me with truly great relationships that I cherish to this day. But I joined yet another part of the Wabash family after being hired by the college in 2001. So over the last 20-plus years in the college advancement office, I've had the privilege of working for and with some incredible individuals, including the 2 alumni directors to whom I've directly reported, Tom Runge and Steve Hoffman. Steve had actually also been my position coach in 1991 and 92 when I was playing defensive back for the Little Giants. I guess you could say he's still relying on me to make him look good. Finally, in 2008, assistant football coach was added to my professional title, reconnecting me with the Wabash football family. A much different family than before, with new players and coaches, but one that remained very much the same in who we were and what we represented. The players and coaches from those 8 seasons will forever be my family, just as the coaches and teammates from my playing days. All of us have experienced rough patches and sometimes feel like you can't catch a break as we face challenging circumstances in our lives. The loss of both my parents, other family members, and friends over the last 4 years had me feeling just that way. Those of you that saw President Feller's Thanksgiving message of a week ago, he referenced the struggles of the past couple of years that had many of us feeling the same. We found ourselves wading through continuing challenges of the pandemic and the tragic loss of beloved members of the Wabash community. But who was there to help us through, offering love, guidance, and support? It was family, no matter how you define it. Now, I wish you all the best as you wrap up classes next week and head into finals. But know that you have family supporting you through it all. And when it's over, think about those families in your lives. Consider what they have done for you and how you might show that love in return. I'll leave you now with this quote attributed to the late American automobile executive, Lee Iacocca. He said, "The only rock I know that stays steady, the only institution I know that works, is the family." Wabash always fights, always means always. Thank you.